Go for it.
Do you remember watching Emperor's New Groove? Did you ever see that movie, by the way?
I have. The first couple times it was
Ok-
only like snippets at a time, and finally, like a couple years ago, I actually watched it all the way through with my children.
Oh, well, good for you. I'm glad that you did that because something keeps playing in my head. And you've got the Emperor, and he's doing his whole dance at the start, right? And there's this old hunched over guy, like he's got this extreme hunched over back, like a crutch or a cane or something, and he's barely able to walk. And the Emperor bumps into him, and he's like, "You threw me off my groove." And so he has the guy thrown out the window. And then later on, he's hanging from the drapes as the other character comes in. And there's this old, and like, don't throw the Emperor off his groove, right?
Yeah.
To me, I keep meeting business owners that think that they're dancing along and think someone else is throwing them off their groove. And it's actually them all day, every day. They're throwing themselves off their groove.
Yeah. That's quite the analogy, especially the
Like I was just in a meeting just the other day, and someone was telling me, yeah, I got my they literally said my entire month was so chopped up, I didn't get enough work done, and so I couldn't bill enough. And I'm looking, I'm like, who chopped it up, dude? Like, who's scheduling your calendar? Right? And they recognized it was them. And then someone else today, I was just in another meeting, and they told me that one of their biggest fears is how to grow their customer base, because it's such a fear, because they know that they keep getting distracted and they keep going over here and chasing this, and they keep going over here and chasing that, and they're not doing the basic things that are needed in order for a business to actually get the work done that they need to get done. So one person's struggling with operations because they get distracted and get thrown off their groove. Another person over here is getting distracted on the sales cycle and not closing the deals. And if people just weren't distracted, if they didn't get thrown off their groove, business would be humming for both.
Yeah, well, that's at the same time, it can be so hard because we're trained to tell ourselves these stories for whatever reasons. Maybe it's the defense mechanism, maybe it's just habits from an example from other people, but all these different things happen and we want to see them as threats. And so then we get emotionally bogged down, which shuts down our creativity, which causes us to lose focus on what really matters. And I know this for a fact, like anytime I have to talk with a lawyer, it's like there's half a day gone. Like even if it's only a 20-minute conversation.
Yeah, just the recovery is half the day, right?
It's like why like I know it's all in my head. Like it's stupid. There's nothing the anxiety or the stress is supporting or helping with. It's all detraction. Like that in itself is the real issue, and yet it happens anyway. It's so, I mean, for me, it's one of those things I'm getting better at it, but I still haven't learned to control it completely.
Yeah. Everybody's that way. I had a friend who was trying to recover from being an alcoholic. And this guy and many others that I've known, similar things, he would drink to get away from what he's feeling so that he'd feel something else. And I'm like, and it really actually, just when I was eating lunch today, it hit me so hard. Our body will manufacture a feeling and then try and convince us to go do something physical to get rid of the feeling that our body manufactured. I'm like, the irony of this, if my buddy's body didn't think it needed to escape the feeling that the body created, he wouldn't be an alcoholic, because he wouldn't need to drink, because the body wasn't creating the feeling that the body was trying to escape from. I'm like,
We get so used to feeling a particular way, even if we can rationalize and say we don't ever want to feel this way, we get it's almost more comfortable than feeling the way a way that we know would feel better.
but will feel stress, right? Like talking to an attorney, stress level up through the roof. And then our body spends all this time trying to reduce the feeling it created. Like, wait a second. Let me help you out here, body. Just turn the stress dial down. Problem solved. No more
Right.
issue. Right? Like, what? This is crazy.
Well, that's where one of the most powerful pieces of coaching that I ever received, and it took me quite a while to really grasp it, but it was just a simple phrase. There's a lot more behind it, but it's not a threat. Just like anytime you feel that anxiety start to bubble up, I tell myself, like I'll even say it out loud often. It's not a threat. Like just and to try and get a jump on that adrenal gland from sending those chemicals through the brain and body, and say like, nope, shut it off. It's not a real threat. Like this is not a life threatening situation. You do not need adrenaline coursing through your system.
Right. I was talking to Bart Miller, which he lives in Eastern Idaho. And anyway, he was on my other podcast a while ago, and we were talking outside the podcast interview. And he said one of the tricks he learned is when the body starts manufacturing that stuff, he says if you just pause for a second and ask your body, what is it that's triggering that? And whatever comes to mind is, oh, okay, so I'm scared about, you brought up talking to the attorney. Okay, my body is trying to protect me about talking to the attorney. Oh, okay. And he said, what you do is you just put your hand on wherever the stress is feeling, right? A lot of people feel it here, back here. And he said, just put your hand there and just thank your body. Thank you for trying to protect me from that. You don't have to protect me from it anymore. And then it just kind of, he says it'll start to melt away. And yet this isn't stuff people are taught in school. We're never taught about the way that the body manufactures based on our past experiences. And if we just come in and short circuit and like, it's not normal taught stuff. Where do you go?
I don't know. Do you really want to get into a conversation about our school system? Because
no, we are supposed to be talking about business, aren't we?
I mean, because I'll go there.
What do you really think?
Been through it myself.
You survived the public school system?
I survived the public school system and ended up being a business owner anyway.
Well, good for you. Speaking to that, when I was at college, the professors, there were a couple of them, and we're all standing around. There's a couple of professors, myself, a couple other people, and they were like, you guys realize those of you in this class that get A's are probably a percentage of you are going to come back to the university level to teach. And the ones who get B's are going to go out and get decent jobs. And those of you who are getting C's and D's are going to fail. And you're going to go out and hire all the people B's and A's.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's I definitely heard that one before, and it's unfortunately it's true. Like those who do best in that kind of like highly structured, organized, idealized system are the ones that do make the best middle managers and can slot into those places very, very easily. Whereas those who don't quite fit with that level of structure, they're the ones that are out breaking things and creating new value and shaking up the world to make it a better place.
Yeah, I had a buddy who was in the military for a while, and he was saying some countries will train their soldiers on just mountainous volumes on here's how you execute the smallest little detail. Like here's a possible scenario. In this scenario, you're going to take 3 steps, then you're going to turn left, then you're going to take 3 steps, then you're going to turn right. When you turn right the second time, you're going to pivot, and they give you every single step you're supposed to take. And he said, in America, we're full of a bunch of cowboys still. And so they'll say, the objective here is you're supposed to get through that wall. Figure it out. And he's like, so how do you want to get through the wall? Well, I got some grenades. I've got a sock. Okay, fill up that sock with grenades. We'll throw all of it against the wall. It'll blow up and we'll get through. And he's like, that's why so many other countries are afraid of us, is because they don't tell us how to think, because the other armies will run into something and be like, what do we do next? And over here, it's just a bunch of cowboys running around figuring it out and making it happen.
I don't know. I would say also there's a level of training. Like I know I've had quite a bit of first responder type training
Mhm.
and coming across car accidents or other serious life threatening injuries. It is really easy to default into that training and like so you start to act. Whereas I've seen those situations, and even when I'm the one that's trying to lead in a way that's beyond my efforts, because I'm definitely not a professional at it. There's so many people, other people around who are just kind of like frozen with fear, and
Mm.
they don't have any training. They're just like looking at the situation. They have no idea what to do, and so I know there's a certain level of training, and our military does provide a lot of training, but they're not getting so rigid with the outcomes that there's still room for adaptation. There's still room for individual thought
Yeah,
in how to take things.
absolutely. And I think that the public school system sometimes is so rigid that some of the people who like to have more of that free opportunity of a blank canvas aren't always given that, and that's why they don't thrive and end up in the business world as an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
Painting with broad strokes, of course. There's exceptions
right.
to every rule.
With broad strokes, yes, because
Yeah.
I did get a few A's periodically.
Periodically.
Um, so I was thinking about another kind of analogy. It's like, did you ever play with like pretend sword fight with sticks when you were a child? Maybe you still do. I don't know.
I was just thinking, does what if it wasn't what if it was a sword? Like, how do I answer that question? What if it wasn't a stick?
Did you play with actual swords as a child?
Well, maybe they were toys.
Okay. I mean, the same thing though is like, but you like I know from my personal experience, because I've actually had legitimate sword training. It nerd, give me my geek or nerd card or whatever phrase you want to use.
Okay.
Um, but I was just thinking back on it because I've started to incorporate that again into my exercise routine,
Hmm.
and I was just remembering when I had my first couple classes with an actual sword master. Um, I was remembering back to, because I did a lot of that as a child, playing games and stuff with friends and cousins, and one thing that one bad habit I had to really break was just blocking the attack, um, of blocking the strike that's coming towards me by attacking the weapon, and not blocking while at the same time threatening my opponent. And that's because if you're only going to block the weapon, then it's very easy for your opponent to just remaneuver that weapon and threaten you in a different way, and then you're off balance, out of position, and can't do anything to defend yourself.
Hmm.
Whereas if you are blocking and threatening at the same time, then they're forced also to defend. And like all like of the in the European tradition, the historical European tradition, longsword fighting, of the five master strikes, four of them are always lethal blows. There's only one of them that is designed to cripple, and isn't something that needs to be defended against directly.
Merely a flesh wound.
Yes. Um, and so I was
So,
thinking
so
about,
you're doing that for exercise? Are you
yes.
fighting a real person during your exercise routine,
No,
or
I'm
is it
just going through the motions with the sword.
just imaginary? And
Um,
with your sword, like going through all the, is that for calorie burn, for strength training? Which one of those is muscle? Like which benefit is more prevalent on that front?
um, it does both. I mean, it's a 4 pound sword. I mean, a lot of people think big swords are like way heavier than they actually are. But it's nearly 5 feet long, and it weighs about 4 pounds. And and just swinging through the motions, practicing the various strikes and trying to make sure that everything is controlled.
So are you
Is
raising your heart rate with that substantially, or
absolutely, yeah,
really? I've
absolutely, yeah.
I've got to see this. I have a hard time imagining a guy sword fighting, breaking a sweat by swinging a sword.
Well, you'll have to come over. You do 100 basic strikes, and you'll feel it.
Okay. We'll have to see this one of these days. Maybe you could do a demonstration on the show.
Maybe I could,
I think that'd be a good idea. We could
but anyway,
branching out into new territory. People would want to see that.
I was thinking like the analogy for business, and it's like there's so many people that start out in, including me. I've been through it, where you have no idea what the moves are. You have no idea what actual motions are that you need to take, and so you end up, there's something coming for you, and you just put your sword up to block, thinking that that's going to save you, and instead the attack just pivots around and stabs you anyway, and you're just like, I'm doing my best to block, but it doesn't help. And in business, we have to, unfortunately, a lot of times learn these skills the hard way, because it's not another issue with, as you brought up, the C students who end up actually creating the jobs. A lot of times we tend not to be willing to listen to those who have actually gone before, and think we have to figure things out the hard way.
Hmm. Yeah. I snuck into a meeting recently, and it originally started as a women's only meeting. And a few guys have snuck into this meeting, and they were ragging on the men today. And they said, now, obviously they're being a little facetious, but they were saying that we women in business are superior to men because we don't have the same level of pride that they have. And so we'll actually listen to people who are experts in the space.
I don't know, maybe.
They were all sure it was true.
They were sure it was true. Well, then it must be true.
That's right.
Anyways, so it's just like I was just thinking about it, like the things that I've had to learn in business, like I grew, like I had a bunch of businesses that I started that didn't work, until I finally got one that did, and turned essentially a side hobby into a $4 million a year business, and then got stuck at that level for quite a while, because I didn't know how to hire. I didn't know how to bring other people in, and eventually, I was, through a series of circumstances, I was forced to learn how to bring new people in, and because I wanted to grow. Like, I wasn't happy being stuck there. Like, that was the thing, is like because I had 4 months a year where I could do all my sales for that business, and I was tapped out. 12 hour days, 6 days a week is, like, that's all one person can do. And unless I was able to bring somebody else in, or find out a better way to handle all the marketing and sales that had to happen in a small portion of the year, there that I was limited in what could actually be accomplished. And so I was stuck until I was able to bring more, till I learned the skill of bringing more people on.
And one of the
And
telling things that I hear people say when they get stuck like you is, "I've tried everything. I just can't break through." And what they're really saying is, "I don't know what to do. And so I keep doing the same things I've always done, and it's getting me the same results."
yeah, well, it was like not knowing what to do, or like knowing what to do, being scared to actually try, like not sure, is it
Mm.
actually going to work. I mean, that was a big one for me. But eventually, at the end of the day, you want to sell more stuff, and so you get, like, you create the, like, that's where, like, business is like one of the best vehicles for personal growth, because you create situations that require you to respond. You don't get to just put your head in the sand and pretend that somebody else is going to come and save you, because nobody is. Like, you either step up and own it, or the business goes away.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Marriage, kids, business. They'll push you into new territories you never knew existed.
Well, and like together um they create like the best of everything, because I don't know that I would, like, I wouldn't be nearly as far along in business and what I've learned without the family and the
Mm.
challenge of raising a family. And again, for those of you who think that that it can't be done, um, achieving multi-million dollar a year revenue and profit with six and seven children, I'm not the only one that's done it.
Yep. People have done it. A lot of people have done that
A
very
lot of
thing.
people have done it,
Yeah.
and I would argue that it's not in spite of the family; it's because of the family that it was possible.
Mm.
And it's completely different way than a lot of people teach to look at it. The family and having children is a burden on the business. Well, I mean, yes, there are aspects of that you have to learn how to work with or around, but on the whole, the benefits of growing and maintaining a happy, healthy family are far more helpful to business growth than they are detracting from it.
Yeah, I was listening to a guy a little while ago, and he was talking about his initial business success. And he said that he knew he wanted something, and he had these goals of, I want to achieve this, I want to have a certain amount of success. And and he said, I didn't I didn't know enough to know that I couldn't do what I was setting out to do, so I did it. Because no one had told me I couldn't do it, so I just assumed I could. And then he's like, after I did it, everyone was looking at me and they're like, that's impossible. You can't do that. He's like, well, I did it. So it must have been possible. And he had wild success because he didn't know he couldn't accomplish that. And so he was missing that that whole set of emotions that were going to hold him back because he hadn't had all of that trained into him yet. And so he just went out wildly successful, did all these great things. Business took off. He could only needed to work a few hours a week, completely took care of his family, and wildly successful. And now he's super wildly successful and very wealthy, has a big family. And it was because he didn't have those things holding him back to I think was a big degree of why he could be so successful so fast.
Do you know if when he was starting out, did he share what he wanted to accomplish with people around him? Did he keep that to himself?
I don't even think he had employees. He just he
Okay.
just it was just him. He was gonna take care of his wife and his family, and he started out, and he just was like, "This is what I'm gonna do," and he just put his head down, stayed focused on it, and got it done, and then after he lifted his head up, everyone's like, "Wait, you can't do that. That doesn't work. You can't be that successful."
Yeah, we get stuck in this. It's like that's one of the questions that a lot of entrepreneurs ask, especially if they've come from more average, an average or even poor financial situation. Is like, how do I handle the success? Am I even allowed to have this?
Yeah.
I mean, not even the for this man that you're talking about to have other people say you can't do that. That's not allowed. But I mean, even for ourselves, a lot of times we'll be like, wait, what do I do now that I've experienced this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this opportunity, with this wealth? Like, do I even deserve to have it?
Yeah.
And
Eh,
then if we can't get through that, we end up sabotaging ourselves.
yeah, I was listening to some people, and in the religious context, there's a lot of people who will preach that having money is evil. And I was listening to a guy who was, for years would teach religious things, and he was talking about someone, that he was personal friends with, and that someone, if I said their name, everyone in America knows who this guy is, and his business, everyone knows his business, like, very well-known individual, passed away now, but his family still owns and runs the business, and this buddy of mine, he was talking about the rich guy, and he said the only thing he did wrong was drive an expensive car. And I'm like, did wrong? Did wrong? That guy, I think, was a billionaire, and he was driving a $200,000 car. $200,000 is like what is like what my buddy spends on lunch. That's not an expensive car to this guy. That guy, the rich guy, did more good in the world and helped elevate more people in the world than my religious buddy would in 20 lifetimes. How is it wrong that he drove a car that was the equivalent of going out and buying lunch, right? And I'm like, maybe my buddy was wrong because he was out spending money on fast food when he should have been spending it on something else. Like, and what it came down to is this realization where whatever amount of wealth the individual has, any more than that is evil, but the amount they have is okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Anybody who makes more than me is evil.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have more than me, it's wrong, but my amount's okay. And so people look up at someone who has more than them and start judging them and telling them what's wrong. They don't have any clue. But a lot of us have been programmed. I was listening to another lady. She was one of the premier attorneys in America doing mergers and acquisitions, was a partner at the firm and was running most of the firm, helping banks do mergers and acquisitions of other banks. Like one of the premier attorneys, and she's in her 40s and she didn't want to do that anymore. And so she's moving in a new direction. And she was thinking about how much money she was going to make doing the new thing that she wanted to do. And when she shared that with her family and all of her hopes and dreams, she said that her dad said, "Oh, you don't need all that stuff." Well, the lady's already making buco bucks. And yet the father's idea was more than that's not it. You don't need that. Don't chase that. Even if it's your dream to go out, just don't do that. You're good enough. And I think that so many people are programmed that way. Don't chase it. No need. It's not having money's evil. It's where our heart is.
Yeah, yeah. It's not if your goal is to do good in the world and to help other people, like the money is just a side effect.
Yeah, and the money is merely an asset that you can use to accomplish the good. It's a tool you can use. But when you
Yeah.
start worshiping the tool, that's where your problems start stepping in.
Yes.
I had a
Yeah.
great when I was sorry, I'm on a soapbox today. I was listening to this guy who was what was he? He was a Catholic priest, and he said that he loves his mother's pie, and his mother needed the sink fixed, and so he had to go and he had to buy the specialty part to fix the sink. And he said, "I did that for the love of my mother and to take care of my mother, and that was a good thing." He said, "Had I gone out and gone and bought that part and fixed the sink in order for my mother to make me a pie, that's where it's not so good. But if we're doing good to try and help people, then we might get that reward of the pie. But if the pie is the only reason we're doing good, then we've crossed that line as a human from doing good in the world to help people to doing good in the world to help ourselves. And that's where the slippery slope starts stepping in. And then we start doing things that aren't as good to try and get the reward. And so that's in his mind where that right line of demarcation is between are we doing good for the sake of good or are we doing good for the sake of greed?
Yeah, there's another level of that as well. It's just like sometimes it's just we're doing what we're doing for our own for our own personal growth because as humans like we have a heritage of to create. I mean that's part of our nature is to create, and we look for ways to express that. So sometimes we're going out and doing good just because that's part of how we're wired, and if we embrace that and cultivate that, then we get more and more of it.
Yeah. Someone asked Neil Diamond why he was still making music last year and still going out to perform. And he's like, uh, I don't know. I just have to. That's who I am. I have to do this."
Yeah.
And there was no reason. It wasn't for the audience. It wasn't for anyone. It was that was how he had his out to create. And it was his means of creation was his music.
And it's whether you want to call it a contribution to the world or however you want to justify it. I mean, we have and as you said before, this lady that was the attorney, she was around some people that wanted to make her smaller, that were potentially even intimidated, even her own family members, by the success that they were worried she might have if she continued down the path she wanted to go on. And I know one invitation, something that's tremendously helped me, is making sure that if you have relationships like that, you moderate them to be a very, very small, if not non-existent part of your life, and you cultivate relationships with people who are going to push you to be bigger than even you think you can be. And you do that the same, and you do the same for others, and that is a much more fulfilling circle of associations to have, even if it's smaller, than trying to live in a way that pleases people who think and dream small.
Yeah. And we're out of time. See ya.
Bye.